Dementia residents lose the ability to think and remember through the mind, but they can develop a new channel of thinking, and that is through the intellect. The intellect is well known, but how it can be used for people with dementia is the new work at hand. It's all about the intellect part of the consciousness, separate to the mind, and training the intellect to think. This breakthrough is psychological, not pharmaceutical, and it all depends to a certain extent on the dementia residents' background, their support, their health, their resilience, and their interest in terms of making, the effort with this work. They need to have the will and the wish to concentrate, to focus, to activate that intellect and be able to think through this new channel of thinking. But once accessed, these people with dementia can focus and concentrate for a remarkable level of amount of time, often up to 1 and 2 hours, I find, when doing the thinking workshops. So just to give you an example of this, of how this channeling of thinking through the intellect works. Firstly, the thing is, you need to develop, the resident needs to develop the interest in the topic at hand. The focus and concentration is the main thing. To get the intellect activated, it requires focus and interest. We're not going to think deeply or think, strongly unless we're interested in the topic at hand. Otherwise, it's just all superficial. So there has to be that deep concentration and focus to be able to get the intellect, geared up and working. It's a bit rusty at first. It won't have been used for a long time, especially if you've been going through a whole lot of dementia stress for however long you've been, diagnosed with that, or however long you've had the condition. So to get away, to distance yourself from the dementia stress requires going through this different channel of thinking through the intellect, which is activated through focus and concentration, which comes from interest in the topic at hand. But once there is the interest in that topic at hand, the dementia resident will be very happy to continue focusing and concentrating and make the effort to continue to focus and concentrate, to be able to have some respite and distance themselves from the dementia stress. So the main thing is getting themselves to that position. Once they're in that position of concentration and focus, you will find they will be able to stay on that track for quite some time, as long as the topic at hand is interesting and new and dynamic and invigorating. Of course, if it's a group, it's easier. Group dynamics are always easier to work with, because then you've got the motivation of the group and the discussion from the group and the effort from the group. But it definitely can still be done one-on-one. But the trainer or the person that's, educating the person, whether it's a relative or grandchild or whoever, it takes a bit more effort, because you need to put more into it to be able to keep that person interested and engaged, not having the group at hand, to work with. This week, of course, is the perfect week to start this work up, because the coronation coming up. That is like the big event for this generation. They can remember the coronation from Queen Elizabeth in the 1950s. So now with Charles being coronated, that, the coronation with him is like a fantastic event, which they will be able to click into. So it's a very good week for this week and next week to go through everything about the coronation. Just get, articles from the newspaper or magazines, or lovely commemorative books you may have at hand, or you can buy or purchase, no doubt, about Queen Elizabeth. Probably best to start with Queen Elizabeth, because she was their icon, their goddess. They all love her. So if you can just get the interest going with that, and have all the magazines and articles there, and, sit down and read it through in a nice, pleasant, relaxed, happy way. And no doubt they will be able to, the dementia resident will be able to give, a few comments on it, at least comments of how lovely she looks. Everyone knows that and recognises that. And you can just embellish the dialogue according to, how much the person is engaging in it. But have lovely, colourful, beautiful, images and photos and big letters so that they can read it, and have the glasses all cleaned, and be set up in the room maybe to start with, where it's nice and quiet. And then you just work through things, and the more interest you can garner from your relative, the more you'll find they'll be able to focus and concentrate with the intellect, and communication and cognition will eventuate from that. Firstly, you've got to have the concentration, and then from there will come the cognition, and from there will come the communication. But unless the person concentrates, you'll never get the cognition, and it's through the intellect that you can activate all of this wonderful work. So in terms of the report, this work I've been doing for many years, and the report is in the book, The Resident's Voice from a Dementia Unit, and also in the Resident's Rise from a Dementia Unit. And this report goes in detail about this intellect work, and how it was, how I found out that these people could think through their intellect. It was quite a process, and I think if you read the book, you'll be able to learn about that if you're interested in the depth and detail of topics, as I am. I mean, it took an enormous amount of reading, you know, on so many topics, and with all my physiotherapy work of 40 years, working with stress with a private practice for 25 years, learning about all the aspects of anger, anxiety, depression and stress, and how to settle stress, and being aware of stress. All of these things helped me so much in understanding and being aware of how to help these dementia residents. So when I went in to do this work, you know, as a diversional therapist, I had a high motivation to want these people to self-manage, you know, as all physiotherapists have this focus of wanting people to manage, if not rehabilitate, at least manage. And with the clinic I'd had with people with pain and stress, you know, I'd managed to get good results with most people. So I was really determined to want to be able to help these people with dementia. And it took so long to be able to get anything happening. But finally, when there was the realization that these people could think, if they could redirect their thinking through their intellect, then that was really the breakthrough, because from that thinking and that concentration and that reading and that whiteboard work and the workshop work, they were able to, you know, establish their thinking and their communication and start to develop their own little lovely community. These wonderful people, which they so deserve, which is all in the two books. Actually, the first half of both books I've written in the form of a novel, in terms of like days of our lives in a dementia unit. Then the report is at the end on the actual work and the intellect work, which I've described today. And then after that, the epilogues on all the practical techniques, all the positive practical techniques for going into the unit, which is the resident's voice, and whilst in the unit, all the positive practical techniques needed for when a person is living in the unit is in the resident's rise. So it's all in just one big lovely package, which took some time to develop, a whole lifetime in fact, but at least the life is still going, and we're able to do this for, you know, these people that so deserve it. So please pass this link on to friends and family who are working so hard with dementia and who deserve, you know, this help. And please subscribe for this channel. It really helps develop this platform. Thank you.